Here we go again, another 2 hours of patch notes. Okay, so this is the patch. This is Boris patch 1.4. If you guys have been watching my YouTube, you guys have already seen quite a bit of 1.4 gameplay. I've put some out all week. Patch comes out Monday the 11th, or Tuesday the 11th, March 11th, excuse me. Yeah, it's a huge patch, so this is going to take a while. I will not be reading every single change word for word. As far as hero changes go specifically, I will be summarizing for the most part because there's a lot. And if you want to read them word for word, again, if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to pause, right? That kind of thing. I will not be reading word for word because it would legitimately take me many, many hours to get through. I will be summarizing as we go. New hero, Boris. Boris gets pretty cool. His passive is basically whenever he lands autos, like every 2 autos gives him a canister. At 4 canisters, his autos do bonus damage and they heal him. And then each canister grants him attack speed on its own. So at full stacks, this is at late game, this is 60% attack speed and then all the on-hit damage, plus it heals him. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good passive. Really good in the jungle. Okay in the offlane. Hard to get value out of in the offlane. You have to take like a really long trade to get value out of this, and it's a little awkward. His Q is his sniff. He sniffs someone within 6,500 units. This is farther than Argus ultimate. So if you guys can visualize Argus ult, this is farther than that. This is like from the back of mid T1 to the back of mid T1. Argus ult is like the front of mid T1 to the front of mid T1. So it's pretty far. Gives him a fuck ton of move speed, and then if you hit your marked target, if you deal damage to your marked target, they get slowed and you get a canister. If you don't sniff anyone, you get part of the cooldown back. Really good fucking ability. Really, really good. Primeval Roar, this is his E, his second ability. It's very similar to Xera's shield. He clicks the button, he gets a bunch of damage mitigation for a couple seconds, and then you can click the button early to unleash the ability early, or you can hold it the whole duration, and when you click it, it does damage, and it fears enemies away from you. The range on this is pretty short, it's pretty much melee range. Fear is a really, really good CC. This is a pretty good ability. Chrono Swipe, this is his right click. He just dashes forward and hits people twice. Does pretty good damage. It applies your on-hit effects. Really low cooldown on this ability. Pretty good, like, dash, good movement, good damage, good burst option. His ultimate is really cool. I'll just play the video so you can see it. That is some chunky audio. But yeah, he dashes. He dashes. This can go vertical. And then if he hits somebody with his dash, he brings them up, slams them down. This does not do damage on collision. This does damage when they land. You can cleanse this, but you have to pre-cleanse it. If you cleanse after it hits you, I don't believe you get out of it. And then when you land, it deals damage in an AoE. You can see this shockwave here. It does base damage and your base damage based on your power. It also does damage based on the target's bonus HP, which is crazy. So if you hit like a Sevarog with this, and it does the target's bonus HP to everyone in the area. So if you ult a Sevarog who has 3,000 bonus HP, it does almost half of that. So this will do 1,500 damage on landing to everyone in the AoE. So if you ult a Sev on top of the enemy carry, they just kind of get one shot. It's a really, like, it's a pretty good ability. It is not an auto lock Reese. You can use this to get away. It goes vertical. You can use it to dash away if you want. Really good ability. Really good ability. Battle Pass. There's a Battle Pass. It has a bunch of shit in it. There's it's the Shadow Ops Battle Pass, so it's got Shadow Ops skins in it. It's longer. It has more heroes stuff in it. You get some loot cores in it, so you can see here's everything in the Battle Pass. You get the Shadow Ops. This skin was not on the test server, so I wasn't able to look at it. You get Opals, which is like a currency that you use to buy skins. You get some chests. The loot boxes are coming in this patch. You get some loot boxes. You get some sprays, overhead emotes, some more loot boxes, stuff like that, right? So, yeah, it's like the battle pass is good stuff. I don't know exactly how long it is. What is it? Release, it'll be until May 27th, so there's like a month and a half of this battle pass, right? So you should have plenty of time to level it up, but it's got a bunch of stuff in it. Like it's if you level this battle pass as fast as you leveled the winter one, then it will not be. Oh, my audio is fucked, guys. You guys did not tell me that. Test. Okay. There we go. Yeah, my audio is fucked. I'm glad no one told me that. Appreciate it, guys. Anyway, yeah, Battle Pass is good. It's got good stuff in it. You don't have to buy the premium track if you don't want to, but you will be able, like, it's here for 6 weeks, right? You'll be able to get a lot of stuff out of this. Shadow Ops Boris. This is a good skin. I like this skin. Shadow Ops Greystone. This one, his face is just goofy in this picture. I've seen this picture. It's very goofy. The Yin one, I think this one's also very good. The Sereth one, again, this one wasn't on the test server, so I didn't get to see it. Twin Blast. This one's a Paragon skin. There's some bundles for the Shadow Ops things, right? Blah, blah, blah. Loot cores. So, there's going to be loot boxes in the patch, right? Loot boxes are coming. Loot cores are free chests containing random loot. You can buy 1 loot core per day with Amber. The free currency. You can buy one loot core per day with Amber, which is a pretty good change. So other than that, I believe I've heard rumors, not 100% sure, that you will be able to get some loot cores by watching streams. I believe this is going to be something that will be droppable on streams. Not 100% sure on that. That's through the grapevine, but we'll see. Because you can get 1 per day of the free loot cores of the what are they called? There's like the normal loot core, and then there's an ion loot core, and the ion ones are the higher level ones. The normal loot cores, again, are less good, but whatever. You can buy 1 for free each day. Skin variants. So the skin variants are cool. There are straight up recolors now. So every base skin has like two recolors to it. Pretty cool. Voice chat is coming. Voice chat will be here in 1.4. It works through Discord. It sounds like you don't have to link Discord. This is a good thing. Again, you can always turn it off if you don't like it. If you do like it, I do think it is a good thing for the game. If you're someone who likes to shot call, this makes it way easier. This is a good change. New custom game options. Basically, you can make 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3, 4v4s, stuff like that. The only thing that I need for custom games, I need 2 changes for custom games. I need to be able to play custom games and set the starting gold. I need to be able to set how much starting gold we have so that I could play like 1v1s with 100k, right? That would be fun. And I need to be able to choose what side of the fucking map I'm on. As long as the map is not mirrored, I need to be able to choose what side of the fucking map I'm on, because it's really annoying in like PPL to 50-50 what side of the fucking map you're on. It's so annoying. Oh, you're playing an aggressive offlaner? Too bad. You got Dusk side. Your offlaner's fucked. They can't play aggressive, right? Like, it's just, ugh. I don't know why the map isn't mirrored. I fucking hate it. League of Legends isn't mirrored. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. The map should be mirrored. I really dislike it. Anyway, you should be able to pick your side. Hero kit reworks. So, there's a lot of fucking changes, man. I'm gonna, again, as far as hero changes go, I will be TLDRing a lot of them. Just so that, again, if you want to see the full changes, if you want to read them word for word, you guys can pause the video. You guys can watch. You guys can read them. I will be doing a lot of TLDR. Ranked mode improvements. Further tweaked our toxicity systems, fine-tuning them for ranked mode. Hopefully, they bring back the match cancellation feature. I don't know if that's something, because match cancellation like got removed because it was bugged, right? Do we know if that's coming back in this patch? I don't, like, this doesn't say exactly those words, but I don't know. See the numbers they originally posted for Boris stats? I mean, I've seen multiple numbers for Boris's kit. I didn't read the numbers. I don't fucking know what they are. I don't care what the numbers are. They're broken anyway. Like, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. I know at one point he had like 75% damage mit on his E. Like, that was broken, right? Glad that's gone. Moving into, oh, this is just one new item. Okay, well, this is the new item. The one new item. Aegis of Aguilar. This is, again, if you guys have been watching my YouTube, you guys have seen this item. It's power HP crit. Weird base stat spread, but I don't hate it. And then it has current Overlord passive on it, where you gain power based on your bonus HP. This is a really good passive, and then the other passive is also really fucking good. So you always passively gain 10% Fizz and Magic Armor. And then while you're below 40% HP, you instead gain 30% total Fizz and Magic Armor. This is really fucking good. Just to be clear. It's total armor. It's not bonus armor. If you have, like, a lot of bruisers late game have, like, 90 base physical armor. Base armor. So 10%, you're at 100. With the 30%, you're at 120. Pretty good. Very, very good item. The downside is that if you're going Overlord, Overlord is also a really good item now. It takes you 2 items to get the power, so it slows it down a little bit, but really good item. Gameplay changes. A lot of changes. So here's the TLDR. Let's see. How much of these matter? Default ranged autos. Yep. So ranged auto attacks are longer now, just a little bit, 200 units. Default jump height and gravity slightly increased. So what they did is that you jump higher, but you fall faster. However, you also have more air control now. Air control was increased by like 400%. So you can actually move more while you're in the air. It's good for characters like Skylar who just have higher jumps. It's very good. This is a good change. I believe you can jump into pits now. I believe you can just straight up jump over pit walls, jump into them, that is. I don't know if they changed that. I'm pretty sure you could do that on test server. Penalties, ranged auto attack penalties, all the auto attack penalties increased by 5%. You move slower while you're autoing. Good change. I've been begging them to increase this. I don't think 30% is enough, but here we are. Default move speed for all heroes increased. You're a little bit faster, but again, offset by this. Blink proxy. This is a weird, I don't know why they word it this way. Basically, you can blink while abilities are casting. During cast animations, not like during the animation of an ability going off, you can blink. So most of the time, this just feels better. Like a lot of the time you get locked out of your blink. Like a big one for me is while you're activating Richter E. While you're like Richter, when you press E, Richter slams the ground and it starts as a little shock thing. It locks you out of your blink for like a full second. Even after the animation is over, you can't blink after you click Richter E. It's really annoying. Now you'll be able to. It'll make the game feel a lot smoother. This is a buff to a lot of characters like Aurora. You can blink while you're ulting. It's really good. Blink range is shorter now, which this goes hand in hand with this because blinking away if you're like in melee range with a ranged hero is not getting you out. So you got to keep that in mind. Dude, the ward radius is fucking ginormous. It's fucking huge. The wards are ginormous now. I don't really know why they increased this drastically as they did, but the ward radius is huge. Shields now benefit from armors, which is really good for tanks. Like Muriel shielding a tank is really, really valuable now rather than kind of being a very whatever thing. Minions spawn earlier, which is really nice. Jungle camps spawn earlier, so the game starts a little bit sooner. You get like the wave, it's like 15 seconds sooner on the wave, so nice. Minion damage increased. This is a big one, actually. Minions no longer execute by dot damage. So characters like Iggy specifically, Iggy, Sparrow, Morigesh, they no longer get executed by your dot damage, which means you can't, like, Iggy throwing abilities at the wave and then walking away is not... Late game, once you have, like, a full item online, you will still kill the minions because you just do enough damage. But early game, you don't guarantee all those last hits if you walk away. You might still get one or two, but you won't guarantee them. So this does matter, again, primarily for characters that can throw an ability and walk away. They will not die. So you got to keep that in mind. There are 3 ranged minions in every wave, so there's an extra minion in every wave. Minions are worth less gold each now. But there's an extra minion in each wave. Overall, I think you gain like 2 gold per wave if you get all the last hits. Like, it's very, very similar. You still don't get level 1 off the first wave. You still need a second minion, or this minion off the next wave. So it doesn't change a whole lot, other than if you're missing last hits, you have to get more last hits per wave now. You also take more damage to start the game because there's 3 archers in each wave. So if you just hit someone at level 1, you're gonna die. New comeback XP mechanic. So if someone is super behind XP wise, they will gain like a crazy amount of extra XP. Killing a hero who's really far behind you in levels gives you fucking nothing, bro. It is crazy. You just don't get XP if you kill someone like 3 levels down on you. Movement speed buffs when stacked now have less diminishing returns, so you can go a little bit faster. Death timers are a little bit faster now early, pretty much the same late game. Gateways are, so the teleporters are active at 8 minutes, and they give movement speed when you land. I believe they channel faster too. I could be wrong. I don't know if that change made it through. I don't know if there's more on that later. But the gateways teleport you faster, they open up sooner, and they give you move speed when you land, which is really good changes because the gateways kind of suck. River bugs, enhanced river bugs now spawn earlier. Fangtooth now spawns at 4 minutes. Something to keep in mind. Again, you get a wave a little bit sooner, so this isn't crazy different, but crit damage increased. On hit effects now benefit from lifesteal, so if you have something like Sky Splitter, you lifesteal off the bonus damage now. Soft reworks to a lot of items, new items, and more, blah, blah, blah. A lot of these changes are just what we were going over right there. This was the TLDR. Let's see, did we miss anything here? Did we miss anything? Damage over time also now has 100% lifesteal. I don't think this matters. I tried building lifesteal on characters like Iggy and Morigesh, did not feel like it changed anything. I don't really know what the point of this change is. Like, I don't know who's benefiting from this. Unless certain abilities are classified as damage over time. Like, is Shinbi ult considered damage over time? Like, I wouldn't think so, but maybe it is. Death timers are a little bit different early, right? Early game, 6 seconds, nobody fucking cares, right? Gold last hit, so they changed the gold share a little bit. You also do get a little bit more drip gold. You get like 1 extra gold per 5 seconds. That's pretty epic. Rex bleed. I mean, I guess Monarch, but still. Yeah, gold share is a little bit different. Basically, you get more gold if you're last hitting. It's cool. Like, these changes, these changes don't really matter. This is mostly to fix the fact that there's an extra minion in every wave. Jumping, so you jump higher, you have more air control, but you fall faster. Kill XP, so if you kill someone who's higher level than you, you get a bunch more XP. If you kill someone who's lower level than you get fucking nothing, bro. You get nothing. You get nothing. You lose. Dot values are typically low. You figured you'd stick it to 100. No reason it needs a penalty. I mean, I agree, Ray. I just saw that change, and I was like, yo, Iggy's going to be broken, or like Morigesh is going to be broken. But it wasn't. Like, it didn't. I was like, dude, I just get to build Lifebinder, and I'm going to be unkillable. But that's not really. Like, that change, it didn't feel like it changed a whole lot. But I don't think it's bad. It is what it is. I don't think it's terrible. Yeah, movement speed penalties are harsher. Dot damage no longer executes minions. That's very epic. On hit, so yeah, again, on hit effects now benefit off lifesteal. So if you have Sky Splitter, primarily. Sky Splitter does bonus physical damage. If you have lifesteal, you'll lifesteal off of your Sky Splitter damage. Very epic. Shields benefit from armor. Again, good change for tanks. Like Muriel shielding tanks is a little more valuable now. The movement speed caps are increased. Movement speed penalties are increased. Wards are fucking ginormous now, but you can kill them a little bit easier. They're visible for much longer. So like level 1, everyone in the game can now kill wards, which is really good. Except for probably Revenant. Does Rev get 3 shots in 4 seconds level 1? Dude, that character sucks. Tower changes. Tower plating falls off a little sooner. And then the local gold decreased a little bit. You get a little less tower from them. Global gold on T2s decreased. Very cool. Gateways. So yeah. So they open up at 8 minutes. It only takes 1.5 seconds to charge it. And the travel time is reduced a little bit as well. And then you get movement speed when you land. You also, you don't get vision of enemies when they fly. You don't see them. You don't know. This is like an okay change. I kind of like the fact that you get to see people. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing personally. But you get the teleporters. It's definitely a huge buff to the teleporters. Cooldown on them also decreased. Minion changes. So again, a lot of these are just fucking numbers that nobody cares about, right? The big point is that there's an extra archer in every wave. So like level 1, there's 6 minions in the wave. All the minions are worth a little less gold. If you get all your last hits, you're basically getting the same amount of gold that you were getting before. Again, this doesn't like really change that much. Like you just have to last hit 1 more minion per wave. It's pretty much the same as it was before if you're getting the last hits. Minions scale now, so the gold scales late game. So like early game you get a little bit less, but again there's an extra minion, so it's not actually like that much less. You're getting like 1 minion less worth of gold per wave. It's a bunch of fucking numbers, man, that don't really matter is the point. Jungle changes. So the hunt item is a little bit better. It heals you more, does more damage, stuff like that. Blue buff, all the camps spawn a little bit sooner. So you're going to see like this change, right? All the camps spawn a little bit sooner because the minion wave spawns sooner. Camp XP increased. Cyan buff, additional XP per minute decreased, so you get a little less XP from this. Dude, this buff sucks. I'm going to keep it 1,000. Cyan buff is terrible. Fangtooth spawns at 4 minutes, very cool. Mini Orb lasts less long. There's big changes to Orb Prime as well. So, Orb Prime got some huge changes. So instead of getting just a 15% bonus damage, which is what it currently gives, it gives you 15% bonus damage. It now grants power. It just gives power. It's fine. It's like the buff is marginally better for tanks now, generally speaking, than it is for like damage dealers. Like a carry with Prime gets like a little less mileage out of it than something like a Sevarog with Prime, right? Like a carry getting 35 power, kind of whatever. A Sevarog getting 60 power when he's probably not building a whole lot of it is pretty fucking good, right? So it's like it's a little bit better for tanks than it is for other people, but it's fairly linear as far as damage goes. You no longer regen with Prime. Being out of combat does not give you health mana regen. It makes sieging much harder. You have to take a fight with this buff now to get value out of it. But the buff to minions is ginormous. They drastically increased the buff to minions, so like clearing Prime waves under tower is going to be difficult. So like as the defending team, you kind of have to take the fight now outside of your inhib. If you let minions walk into your inhib, you probably just lost your inhib. So you kind of got to take your fight. But the enemy team still has a buff. They still have more power than you. So you're probably going to lose. The whole thing, it's basically, again, TLDR, Prime, if you steal a Prime, if you magically steal a Prime at 25 minutes, you don't instantly win the game if your team is losing, because the buff isn't like super duper OP anymore. So you don't instantly win the game because the enemy team can probably still win a fight against you. They can't clear the minions, but they can probably still win the fight. So you don't instantly win the game off of stealing one. It's a little bit harder to siege. You have to take a fight with it. If you you have to set your lanes properly. Minions matter a little more. It won't change a crazy amount if you're ahead in the game, but if you're behind in the game and you get a prime, it won't just instantly win the game for you anymore. Which is kind of what prime does right now, right? If you're behind at the 35-minute mark, but you steal a prime, you kind of just win. It doesn't do that. River buffs. River buffs get some changes. Gray buff gets a nerf. Thank fucking God, bro. I don't know why they won't remove gray buff from the game. It is this dude, gray buff is just so cancerous. Like, I do not know why they don't remove it from the game. Like, give me anything else. On God. I would rather would I rather have invis buff back? I might legitimately rather have the invis buff than have gray buff. As long as the invis was the same as Kalari invis, where you can see them on wards, I would rather have invis buff back than have gray buff in the game. Because this shit's just idiotic. The rest of the buffs, like orange buff gets a little bit of a buff. Green buff gets a nerf. Very cool. Moving into hero changes. Ugh. Hero changes. So all heroes got slightly tankier. Like all heroes got slightly more magic armor. Very cool. Caustica is a broken item, so this doesn't really matter. But here we are. I'm exasperated. Dude, I'm out of breath. Gotta sit up. I gotta fix my posture real quick so that I can... All right. Argus. I don't know what the fuck they did to my boy, man. I don't know what they were thinking on these changes. The Argus changes are the most baffling ones in the entire patch, which is kind of funky that we're starting with them. But these are the most baffling changes in the patch. Again, base stat changes. Most of the time, these don't really matter. Again, like, move speed is the one stat that really matters on base stat changes. But they buffed everybody's move speed, right? That by about 5%. They buffed everyone's move speed. So these, like, this change doesn't really matter because everyone got it. The rest of these, it's fucking base stats, man. No one cares. Disintegrate. So his passive got buffed. The base damage went up. The scaling went up. The stack multiplier went up. Duration goes down, so you do have to, like, you can really only be hitting one person with your passive at a time, kind of. Overall, buff to his passive. It's a buff. His Q also got a buff. It does more damage. You can throw it farther. It's a bigger projectile. It has a bigger radius. You can throw it much farther. It goes a little faster. Cooldown increased. I don't know. It's a flat cooldown now. Don't really know why. Here we are. His crystal. Why they just decided to dumpster his fucking crystal? No clue. No clue. They just said, yeah, let's take half the base damage on crystal now. And it doesn't block blinks anymore. You can't even fuck someone's blink with your crystal. Yeah, the scaling increased by 20%. That matters. But like late game, this will be doing roughly the same damage. But like, wow, dude, half the base damage? Come on, man. And then the cooldown down a little bit late game. Again, mostly a nerf to this ability, in my opinion. Like, late game, buff. Before the 25-minute mark, it's a nerf. Because this is usually the ability you max last anyway, right? I guess you probably max this second now because this ability got buffed a little bit, but the cooldown didn't. So, yeah, you probably max E second, but still. And then his particle shredder, I don't know. They nerfed the base damage a lot and increased the mana cost. The cooldown is a net buff, but then, like, the increased scaling doesn't really make up for this. You need, like... I did the math on this the other day. I just lost the math. You need, like, 400 power or something like that for this to be an even damage trade. With his passive buff, like, maybe he does a little more damage now, but I just don't see it being... I don't know. I feel like they dumpstered this character. I feel like he's just gonna straight up be worse. But I could be wrong. Didn't play him on the test server. Pretty sure he's worse now. Yeah, and also self-slow increased. Right. Funny. Moving on, Aurora. Aurora's passive does a little more damage as far as HP goes. Her Q costs less mana. Her E does a lot less damage. Or her E got the scaling like super reduced. The base damage goes up. The radius goes up. And then the cooldown goes up a tiny bit. It's cool. This is like a fairly linear change to Aurora's E. If you're not building a damage item, this is the same. If you're building a damage item, it's a little bit worse. Her right click, I believe this one got buffed like quite a bit. Yeah, this one got like the base damage increased a bunch. The scaling, all of Aurora's scaling goes down, but like the base damage goes up, the cooldown goes down, right? Like this will be like a pretty good ability. Like this is already a pretty good ability, will be better. And then her ultimate gets, again, similar changes where like base damage goes up, the scaling goes down a little bit. Like overall, this will do less damage because yeah, it gains 5% on the first hit, but that's the second, it's the hits after that matter. So do a little less damage, but lower cooldown. And this is Blink proxy compatible. So you can start channeling your Aurora ult and then flash before it goes off, which is really, really good. That's a really good fucking ability now. It was already a good ability, even better. Countess. I fucking hate the Countess changes, bro. I will keep it 1,000. I think these are some of, I think these changes stink. They just decided to just make Countess super OP for some reason. I don't really get it. Like, just read this passive, bro. You hit someone with 2 abilities, and they take 8% of their max HP as true damage. Max HP as true damage. Hello? Hello? Character with 4 damaging abilities has to hit half of her kit? Huh? Right. Funny. Also gives move speed. And refunds 25% of her basic ability cooldowns. Right. Right. Yeah. Very cool. And it stacks instead of refreshing. Very cool. So if you full kit somebody, hit them with 4 abilities, they're taking 16% of their max HP as true damage. And you get your fucking abilities back instantly. This was bugged on test server, so I hope that this is currently refunding cooldowns properly, because this was bugged on test server. But just like literally just reading her passive, and then it's like, tell me the champ won't be broken. Anyways, her Q is a really good ability, so you basically spawn a shadow at a location. It's a little AoE. It does damage and slows when you spawn the clone. It does a lot less damage than it did before. It's on a longer cooldown. It's a one-way trip. You can still click Q to teleport to your shadow. You can place this vertically. You can go over most of the walls in the game with this. Really good movement ability. Less good offensively, but really good movement ability. It has like Gideon's super jump, where you can store momentum before you teleport, and you'll keep your momentum. Really good movement tool. Still like a decent, again, the damage on this almost doesn't matter. This could probably do a single 1 damage and it would be fine, because you only need it to do 1 damage to proc your passive. And that's all you're using this for in a fight. Otherwise, you're just using this for mobility. Her E is good. It's like a net buff for this ability overall. It's a projectile now, so it can be like reflected by yin, right? She can reflect this now. It does not go through walls anymore. The visual on this ability is not good, in my opinion. I think it is very, very like screen cluttering. I think it looks really bad. But it is a buff to the ability. The way that it works, it takes a little more skill to use, stuff like that. Or right click, again, net buffs, does a little more damage in the jungle, gains some scaling. The healing goes down, but the multiplier on heroes goes up. So if you heal more if you're hitting heroes, you heal less if you're hitting minions. Overall, a buff to her right click. And then her ultimate, it's a suppression instead of a stun. That's a buff, by the way, just to be clear. Applies her passive, right? Her passive is hemorrhage, right? Applies hemorrhage. So her ult alone is going to make you take 8% of your bonus of your max HP. It no longer heals her as normal, but it does more damage if it's used on a target who's currently bleeding from your passive. So if you hit someone with your E and your right click, it will they'll start ticking from your passive, and then if you ult them, it does more damage, which is really good. And then on top of doing more damage, if they're ticking from your passive when you ult them, you heal for 100% of damage done. Not a joke. It does less base damage and it does less scaling, so her ult itself will do less damage overall. But the fact that it instantly applies your passive means that you're always doing plus 8% of their max HP off of ulting somebody, which is really good. Crunch changes. They didn't really change this champ, like, realistically. They made him do more damage. Like, if you're building damage on him, he will do more damage. His, like, base kit, again, like, you can see these number changes. Like, this is on his Q. Like, the number changes go down, but, like, look at the scaling changes, right? This will be, like, pretty similar. Right crunch, this is his E. Again, similar. He jumps in the air now when you knock somebody up. Who cares? You know what I mean? Again, crunch didn't, like, the changes to crunch aren't huge. Like, he does a little more damage if you're building damage. If you're not, nobody cares. His right click, his dash, now doesn't lock you out for some reason. Don't know why it had a giant lockout on it before. It no longer, you can jump after using crunch dash. Crazy. And then, yeah, again, same thing. It goes less far. Big change. His ultimate also heals you for more. Very cool. Decker. You can flick her Q now. Her Q, like, it right now, if you click Q and then look away, it locks the camera, or it doesn't lock your camera, it locks the targeting, so it'll always fire the direction you're looking when you press the button, not when you're looking where it comes out. Very cool. Her right click, it's slower, it has more it goes farther. Overlap, I believe this is projectile hitbox. Is, I believe, what this word means when they use this word, which means this will hit walls more often. Like, I believe that this means it's going to be harder to thread through people and stuff like that. The max stun is increased, or the minimum stun is increased. The maximum stun's increased. So if you hit people with this from far ranges, you're getting rewarded, stuff like that. Cooldown decreased. You'll be able to click this button a little more often. Just mostly buffs to Decker. Like, again, slow or stun on her ultimate increased. Buffs to Decker. They didn't touch her cage at all, but buffs to Decker. Drongo. His passive. You can no longer cleanse Drongo passive. You also cannot cleanse his rad rounds. I didn't know you could cleanse his passive before, to be honest. I didn't know that you could do that, but now deals damage when applied and over 4 ticks instead of 3. Very cool. Gag Grenade. So what they did to Gag Grenade is what they should have done to it 8 months ago. But basically, when you toss this ability, when it hits the ground, it explodes in its AoE. It silences when it hits the ground. So if you are in the radius when it hits the ground, you get silenced for what's the silence? It scales up to 1.2 seconds if you're in the area. If you are not in the area when it hits the ground, but you walk into the area afterwards, you will not get silenced. This is no longer a persistent silence on the ground. It still applies his passive as long as it sits on the ground. So you still take damage by standing in this, but it no longer just infinitely silences you while you're standing in the ability. This also means if he hits you with this, you can cleanse it right away and you don't get re-silenced. Stuff like that. This is just a good quality of life change to this ability. It makes it harder to use. It gives it more counterplay. It's a good change to Drongo Grenade. Rad rounds. So rad rounds, you can't cleanse rad rounds anymore. The fact that you can cleanse rad rounds kind of makes Drongo lose every 1v1 as long as the enemy carry has cleanse available. It now applies an additional stack of his passive for every irradiate stack. So every time you hit someone with rad rounds, they'll get an additional stack of your passive. In a fight, like on a tank, this will be a lot of extra damage. Like, I wouldn't underestimate this. Cooldown now starts at the end of the ability instead of when you click it. Very cool. This makes, like, Ashbringer worse on this champ, I guess. Base damage decreased, scaling increased, additional shot damage increased, early game at least, right? And then duration increased, so you get more shots of this. Cooldown decreased. This will just be like... this will be kind of generally a buff, right? You'll be able to click rad rounds a lot more, and it'll apply your passive. It'll make you... It'll be a I'm trying to think of what I would compare this to in the game. It's like almost kind of like Grim E, where you kind of get to have your rad rounds a lot more. So it's like, it's less of a one-time burst option and more of like, you can use this to get 2 autos on someone and you're not super mad that you lost a lot of value on the ability, rather than like, if I don't get all 4 of my autos onto somebody with this, then I feel bad. Drongo's Boomerang, whatever, man. Base damage decreased, scaling decreased, slow increased. So this is more of a rundown tool, I guess, less of a wave clear tool. Very cool. His ultimate, these are some cool changes. So it no longer pushes him back if you cast it on the ground. So if you're standing on the ground and you ult, it will push the enemies back. It will still shred armor, stuff like that. But if you want to go backwards, you have to jump and then ult, which is kind of cool. It just like adds a layer to Drongo. Like if you don't jump ult, like you don't need to all the time, right? Sometimes it creates too much distance. Sometimes you just need a little bit of distance. This it's a cool change to what they could do to his ult, right? Does a little less damage, but I don't think anyone cares. Fang Mao. We've already seen the Fang Mao changes. We saw these in the dev stream. Fang Mao's passive is broken. Just gives you 20% extra AD if you kill everyone on the enemy team. And it's not even kill. It's fucking takedown, which this is broken, by the way. I don't know why this isn't last hit. I truly don't. Like, I feel like I guarantee the patch after this, they change Fang Mao passive to be kill instead of takedown. It's fucking crazy, dude. This passive is really, really good. His Q is no longer a shield, it's a spell shield, so it blocks one ability from hitting you. It gives you passive power and move speed, which is really, really fucking good, by the way. And then, if you block an ability with your spell shield, you double the stats. So if you block an ability, this is just giving you 50 power and 18% move speed. Really cool. This champ's broken, by the way. Hamstring. So his E got changed a little bit. It hits twice rather than just once. It does less damage per hit, obviously, but it hits twice. And then it does bonus damage if you only hit one target, which is cool, I guess. If you're solo, if you're just hitting one person, this counts minions as well. So if you're hitting a hero and a minion, it will do the reduced damage. If you're hitting just the hero, it will do increased damage. It's a really good ability if you're hitting one person with it. It's a broken ability. It's like 90% scaling if you hit one person with this. It's crazy. But if you're hitting multiple people, like hitting a minion wave will be less good, right? His clear will be a little bit worse. His 1v1 potential is crazy. Reaping Dash. It now resets on takedown. Who knows, bro? That's OP. It also has his old passive on it, where it does 8% current HP when you dash somebody. Right. Base damage reduced quite a bit. Scaling increased. The cooldown is longer level 1, but it goes down late game. Early game, man, like, if you're playing him off lane and you're able to just dash hit people and just hit them with this constantly, like, I feel like he will still be good in the off lane. He will be harder to play. In the jungle, definitely good. Mid lane, also probably definitely good. Didn't play him in the mid lane, but I feel like he's got to be. And then his ultimate, it's significantly skinnier. Like, right now, Fang Mao ult is like fucking, like, what is that? Like 3 inches. It'll be like 2 inches after the patch. And then the scaling goes down. This ability is insane. You can cancel it now, which is really good. If you stun him out of this, it goes on cooldown. But this ability is just really fucking good, man. Really good ability. And then, of course, yeah, he gets his dash reset on takedown. So, like, if you execute someone, you get to dash again. It's gross. Gadget got some cool changes. So Gadget, her passive got changed. She acquires stacks that grant 1 power per 5 stacks. Killing an enemy minion gives 1 stack. So every minion kill gives 1 stack. Damaging a hero with an ability, just damaging them. Hitting a hero with an ability grants 3 stacks. And then takedowns grant 20 stacks. So killer assist gives 20. Every 5 stacks is 1 AP. It's 1 magic power. So just over the course of a game, like I played Gadget for 1 game, and I think I ended, it was like a 25-minute match. I want to say I had like 300 stacks, which is an extra 60 power. That's a full item. Seems really good to me. Seems really good to me. Her Q is they changed her hat, so the latch range, the grab range on her fucking hat, the little like fucking just snatch you across the map range on her hat, is much smaller now. It's like yay big, and then the explosion radius is the same, but the grab range is smaller. This is also just a straight up projectile now. You can throw this shit across the map. It's actually crazy. You can throw this from like tower to tower in mid lane. I don't fucking know why, but you can. And then they changed it, so basically, if you hit someone with your hat, it will do X amount of damage. If you hit someone with your hat and it's on top of them and you auto attack them, it drastically increases the damage. It's increased by like 20% if you auto them while they have the hat on them. So that's really big. So if you're fighting someone in auto range, Gadget still does a lot of damage. Otherwise, her ranged damage is insane. Her security gate, this is a weird ability now. I thought this felt kind of bad to use, but I also, again, I only played her once. This is a thrown ability. You toss out your speed gate. You click the button and it moves away from you. Anyone that it hits, it no longer goes away when one person hits it. Anyone that touches your speed gate gets rooted on the enemy team and takes damage. This also it hits minions now. And then you get the move speed if you walk through it. You regain the move speed if you walk through it twice, which is really cool. You can just go back through it and keep getting the move speed, which is really neat. And then, yeah, it just goes away from you. So it's much more reliable to hit on people. You don't have to place it right on top of them. It hits minions. It does a little less damage, but it's more reliable, so that's fine. Her right click is basically the same as it was before, except it follows heroes that are inside of it. So you throw out your right click, it's the little cone. The little cone is here, and then if a hero waltzes in or is close to it, they don't have to be quite inside of it, but if they're close to it, the little seek and destroy, the little microwave thing will follow them slowly, but it'll follow them. And try to keep them inside of it. And that's a cool ability. It's more reliable. It does a little less damage, but it's more reliable. And then Gadget Ultimate is pretty much the same, except it starts when you cast the ability. It's quite small. And over the first 2 seconds, it lasts for 5 seconds. Over the first 2 seconds, it expands to pretty close to its radius right now. It's really just like when you click the ability, it's smaller, and then after 2 seconds, it's normal sized. Which is like, you just have to be more accurate with it. It's not 5 seconds of giant area denial. It's 3 seconds of giant area denial and 2 seconds of smaller area denial. It's fine. Gideon. Biggest change to Gideon is his passive. It still is basically the same. So when you hit an ability, you get an extra auto. You get a auto that goes a little bit further. When you hit someone with it, it still does damage. If you hit them for the entire duration of the passive, which is 2.1 seconds, if they stay in range for that, it roots them for 1 second, which gives you free rocks. So it's a buff to Gideon passive. It's a huge buff to Gideon passive. It gives him reliable damage, stuff like that. Gideon's other biggest change is the fact that his abilities are just far as fuck now. His Q and his right click both go crazy far. They are insanely far. It's like gadget range. It's pretty crazy. Gideon, again, like base damage goes down, scaling goes up. The hitbox tightened to match decal. Thank God. The hitbox on this ability is fucking terrible. It hits people that are in the air now. The range on his portal is significantly shorter. This says it's 150 units shorter. It felt shorter than that to me, to be honest. Enemies also don't go through this. That change isn't in here. Is that on live, Ray? Is Ray still in here? That change go to live? Because on the testing server, you couldn't follow Gideon through his portal. Enemies could not follow Gid through his portal. Again, doesn't say that right here. But I don't know if that's going live. Okay, Ray's gonna check for me. I appreciate it, Ray. Because on testing server, you couldn't follow him, and it did make him kind of OP, but I don't know if that's on live. His right click, again, the range increase on these abilities is crazy. And then, yeah, again, damage goes down, scaling goes up, cooldown goes down. I think you might unironically max Gideon right click first after this patch. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think you might. And then, so his ultimate got changed, so you can't cleanse his ultimate anymore. The pull cannot be cleansed. The radius is smaller, which sounds like it stinks, but the pull strength increased by 20% is ginormous, man. It feels so good. This is like an actual pull now. You can't just walk out of it. It's really good. Base damage increased drastically as well, which is really good. And then the last 0.75 seconds of his ultimate, it will just stay there. So this is like technically a channeled ability for the first 2.75 seconds. And then the last 0.75 seconds, this is not a channeled ability. It just sits on the ground. So it's a little bit funky. This change doesn't really do anything. I will be honest. I don't think this change really matters like at all. But these other changes do matter. These other changes do matter. Gideon, I do think it's a general net buff to Gideon. I do think he got better. Greystone. Greystone's passive gets changed. Currently on current patch, Greystone's passive is that he just gains power by hitting people. Now he has, I think this is Garen passive, like kind of Garen passive. He regenerates max HP per second and gains just armor per level. The values are increased based on his missing HP, and the healing is doubled when he's under half HP. This is just like a solid, it makes him a little tankier. It's not like a crazy passive, it's just stats, but it's not bad. And then Q, so Greystone Q, it no longer gets longer when you auto people. However, it now shreds armor when you hit people with it. So you can shred up to 32% armor off of people. Keep in mind, you can also just buy Basilisk and Citadel, and people just don't have armor anymore. Really good against like people building armor. Really good at just killing tanks now. His E got changed. This is no longer a 3 auto swing. This is 1 auto attack. It just hits 1 time. And it gains increased range. It has 100% cleave. The scaling was changed. No one cares. Base damage goes up. It has 2% max HP scaling. Max HP scaling. Which means this does a pretty good amount of damage if you're building stuff like Overlord and Aegis. So the slows also increased. Cooldown goes down. This sounds worse, realistically. Generally speaking, this is better than Greystone's current E. But it does sound worse. But generally speaking, this is better. Assault the Gates, his jump is fast as fuck. Oh my god, it's fast. If you up down people, you can never miss this ability. Level 1, this ability is going to be insane. It gives move speed when you hit people with it. Like, huh? And then the radius goes up, so it's really unmissable. And the range goes up, so you can jump farther. His jump is going to be fucking crazy, bro. Like, this ability is just, like, you take jump level 1 as Greystone offlane, and you just instantly win every single 1v1 in the game. It is so goofy. And then his ultimate gets some buffs here. You can cast it while you're in the air, which is a really good change. You no longer get body blocked by Greystone's ult. It cleanses anti-heal before he heals himself, which is a really fucking good. That's really good. But because of that, the healing goes down. So the healing on his ultimate goes down. The damage scaling. Just take a peek at this change, guys. Just feast your eyes upon the damage scaling change to Greystone ult. So it heals you for a little bit less, but this also just like does 1500 damage late game. I don't know, man. I don't know. This is like a 500 or a 600 base damage ability that now has 200% scaling. Like, you actually can just bomba people with this. It is goofy. Cooldown goes down a little bit too. Very epic. It heals for less, so it's less of a second life and more of like, I get some HP back and good luck getting out of my 1500 damage ultimate is basically what it is. Grim got some interesting changes. So every character in the game, enemies cannot go through Gid Portal, was missed from patch notes. I appreciate it, Ray. I appreciate you checking that for me. I just remember that being on test server. So when I didn't see it here, I didn't know if that got removed. I appreciate you checking that for me, right? So yeah, Gideon, enemies cannot go through your portal anymore. So it's much safer abilities. Teammates can still go through it, yeah, but enemies cannot. But Grim, so all characters in the game got their ranged autos increased to 1,500 units. But Grim did not. Grim's auto attacks are still 1,300. We'll get to why. His Q, basically, this ability should be less goofy now. It has a really goofy knockback. It should be a little less goofy now. It's slower. It has a bigger hitbox. Does a little bit less base damage, so like early game, this will be less annoying. Cooldown increased drastically, by the way, so keep that in mind. His assault mode, this makes his autos normal range. Well, as long as you have your E active, your autos are normal range. You get a crazy amount of fucking attack speed for hitting autos while this is active. This is like, what is this? Almost 80% attack speed if you hit 4 times. That's fucking nuts. His autos also cleave while you're using his E. Who the fuck knows why? And then the slow goes down. It costs more mana and restores less mana. The scaling goes down. The rest, like these two things alone, make this worth it. Plus the fact that it makes you normal range. This is going to be a really good ability. Grim will be a very, very annoying champ to try and fight in general now. His bubble got a bit of a buff, generally speaking. It's a little bit more block duration. The cooldown does go up, but this is generally the ability you max last anyway. So this looks like it's a 6-second increase to the cooldown, right? But for the majority of the game, this is a 2-second cooldown increase, right? So it's really not that terrible. And then his ult gets a buff. Grux got some changes. Grux, again, I have a Grux game on my YouTube channel if you guys want to watch it, but Grux bleed. So Grux passive, he no longer gains Omnivamp when you max stack somebody with his passive. However, the damage of his passive goes up. His Q, so his pull is now a much narrower cone, and you can charge it. So the longer you hold the Q, the farther the pull goes, and then when you let go, he'll smash the ground, pull people into you. This goes really fucking far. And then it's slower if you use it like on top of somebody, but like at max range, it's a really good ability. You can use this in the air, I believe. I don't think it says that anyway. I don't see that change right here, but you can cast Grux pull while you're in the air, which is just a good quality of life change. You can jump pull now. Cooldown goes up a little bit. This is a really, like, this ability alone makes Grux better late game. Grux's late game is pretty atrocious. This ability alone gives him plays he can make late game. His E now goes through fucking targets. It goes through minions, which is really nice. You don't get your dash cucked by minions anymore. The knock-up height decreased. Range is increased, so he dashes farther now. Does more damage, a little bit longer cooldown. His right click now no longer has base damage. It is only scaling, so this is essentially hitting like an auto attack and a half. When you hit someone with this, it has no base damage. Early game, it's a little worse. It heals you for 5% of your max HP and 18% of your missing HP. Why? I have no fucking clue why they thought these numbers were okay on this. I watched a Grux heal for like 40% of his HP by clicking right click one time. Right. Very cool. And then his ultimate's basically the same as it was before. He gets more attack speed, but he steals less power. Pretty much the same. Howitzer got some changes. Howie's passive, this is just a buff to his passive. His Q is the big change for Howitzer. His Q now, it's a little bit further. The speed, it's a little bit slower. But the big thing about Howitzer's Q is that if you direct hit somebody, it does more damage. And the more damage that it does is a fucking shit ton, bro. So the base damage, this is the ability right now. Is this base damage plus scaling. So the scaling on the ability alone went up. The base damage did go down by almost 100, which is like, if you're not direct hitting someone, this will do less damage. But if you direct hit somebody, this is a 350 base damage ability that has 110% scaling. It is on a 6-second base cooldown. Hello? That's like a fucking ultimate, bro. That's Richter ult. This is the same amount of damage that Richter ult does. What? Right. Dude, level 1, this shit does like 125. Right. Yeah, that's cool. That seems fair. And then his E, his knockback, it goes farther, so you can throw this much farther, like significantly farther. And then the knockback is decreased, the damage is decreased, the cooldown is it's decreased. So you can throw it farther. It doesn't boop as far. It's not quite a super duper fuck you button when you hit an enemy hero with this, but it's still very annoying. He'll have it a little more often. Still good to boop yourself with. His slow grenades just get like a net buff. They just get like all of these numbers basically mean they're slightly better than they were before. And then Howie's ultimate also got changed. Basically, instead of flying up and just like and shooting all of his rocket, blowing his whole load at one time, he now blows 3 loads. So you fly up and you go and you do it 3 times. Overall, this ability fucking slams. I don't know why they did this. Yeah. Let's just read what. They just tried to sneak this in at parentheses at the end, huh? Let's just read what they tried to sneak in with these little parentheses at the end. What does this change to howitzer say? Total scaling increased from 96% to 228%. Like, y'all reading what I'm reading, right? Y'all got eyes, and they can read English, right? Like, hello? 228% scaling? We just almost, like, we just time and a half the scaling on this? Hello? Like, so the ult takes longer to fully fire. It just does a fuck ton of fucking damage, bro. This shit, I had a game where I had 1 item. I was level 10, so I had rank 1 ultimate. Ultimate did 1,000 damage. I don't fucking know, man. This, like, Howie seems broken to me. Like, his safety is, he's a little bit less safe because of his boop knockback. But his damage is just insane. Iggy got some changes. They made Iggy more turret-based. So basically, whenever you hit someone with an auto attack, your turrets gain attack speed. His passive is no longer cleansable. Very cool. It does more damage. Flame turret, you can now see the range of his turrets, which is a really nice change. That is a very good change. And then the turret range is increased. It's slightly farther than auto attack range. The base damage decreased. Scaling increased. They do a little bit more damage. They have a fuck ton more HP. They have like 100 more base HP on top of some extra scaling. They have a little more armor. Like, these things are tanky as fuck. They do have a longer cooldown, which that does matter. But, like, they're tanky as fuck. And then his ultimate also gives his turrets attack speed as long as you're channeling it, basically. He gets more move speed ulting. And then the rest of his abilities are basically just the same. They do a little bit more damage. Like, Molly doesn't throw... You can't throw your Molotov quite as far. It does a little less damage. But... yeah, I don't know, man. They just made him a turret character. His turrets are just going to be broken. The rest of his kit is fine. His turrets are going to be broken. Kalari also got like a new ability. Her passive is still double jump. She can still triple jump. Her new passive is death mark. So whenever you hit somebody, this says damaging an enemy hero. I don't believe that's true. At least on test server, this worked on everything. I don't know if that's still true. That could have changed. On test server, this hit minions and jungle monsters. So I don't know if this is true. All units? Okay. Okay. Ray, I don't know what changed. I haven't played the test server in like a week. I didn't know if anything got changed since I played it last. So yeah, this is whenever you hit something, a hero or a minion, it applies death mark. It reveals them. They can't, you can see them. It does damage based on their missing HP, and it has a cooldown per target. You can't hit someone with this many times at once. You can't have multiple marks active at one time. You can only mark one thing at one time, but this is a good passive. You don't know half the changes either at this point. I mean, that's fair, Ray. That's fair. Kallari Q is changed, so you don't get regen when you activate the ability. You don't get bonus damage when you activate the ability. It does give you more move speed, and it has a passive where you just gain health regen as long as you aren't on the enemy's minimap. If you are on the enemy's minimap, you do not get the health regen. If you are off the enemy's minimap, you get the health regen. So you don't have to be invisible to get this regen. You just have to be not seen. Her E, this is a new ability, brand new ability. Kallari backflips into the sky after a short duration. She can click on somebody and dash towards them. It does a lot of damage, and the damage is doubled if they have death mark on them. It's a really good ability. This kind of just one-shots people if you full combo into them. Really good. Her dagger, basically the same. Like, it does a little more damage to camps, does a little less damage to heroes. Very cool. Her ultimate is significantly worse. But again, keep in mind, this ability is 90% scaling, and it can double. So this, like, she has a 180% scaling ability. So keep that in mind when you say that her ultimate got nerfed. Now deals up to double damage based on their missing HP, so it's execute damage. But it does less than half the damage that it did before. So this will never hit as hard as it does right now. It does less than half the damage, but you can almost double the damage by ulting someone who's low. But her base kit got a pretty extreme buff with this new ability. All right, Chimera. Chimera didn't really get anything. His Q got a buff. His E got a buff. His right click, his jump got a buff. His ultimate also got a buff, I believe, right? Like, you see this and you're like, oh, his ult got a tiny bit of a buff. The dot damage on his ult got crazy buffed. Like his ult will be doing a decent amount more damage, but Chimera is basically the same as he was before. He has a little bit more healing in his kit. He has a little, like, his jump is a longer cooldown, so his rundown potential is a little bit worse. But you do just max Q on this champ now. You're never maxing jump anymore. You're just maxing Q. Kira's pretty nuts. So you can't cleanse her passive anymore. Whenever she now grants Umbra upon reaching max stacks, this basically means when you max stack somebody, the next target that you hit will also get max stacks. It's pretty nuts. Again, on test server, this worked on minions. I was told that was incorrect, but that's what I have to go off of. So on test server, you could fully stack a minion and then hit an enemy hero, and it would instantly max stack them. This basically means that Kira pretty much permanently has like a 15% damage buff, and it's true damage. It's a really insane passive, and it makes her very good. The rest of her abilities do get like general nerfs. Like her dash gets a buff, because obviously it resets on takedown, right? It goes farther as well if she has max stacks on somebody. But other than that, again, her base kit generally got nerfed, but because like this passive buff is so crazy that like this champ was OP on test server. She was nuts. Yeah, as long as you have max stacks, her right click has a reduced cooldown. Her right click does do a little bit more damage. And then her ultimate, I believe so it no longer triggers on hits. It's a little bit shorter of a cast. It does the same amount of damage over less period of time. The base damage per tick decreased, so it's a little less total base damage, but the scaling goes up substantially. So like overall, this is probably a net damage buff. Yeah, I don't know. This champ got crazy. Again, her passive was always good. It just didn't matter as much because like the champ was kind of bad. But like her passive is insane now, and it just makes her really good. Quang's passive got a buff. So whenever Quang has stacks on his passive, whenever he hits someone with an ability, he gains 60% attack speed, as long as he's hitting his passive autos, which is really, really good. CDR, I mean, this is just incorrect, right? It's already half a second and works on monsters. This change was the last patch, which is kind of goofy that it's in here, but this change was last passive. Full stacks on minions carrying over to heroes was a bug. It's fixed now. On Kira, okay, that'll help a lot, because that made Kira broken, because you would max stack minions, and then you would just run at the enemy duo lane, and you'd win. So if they fixed that, then that's really good. You have to full stack a hero to be able to transfer your passive. Yeah, so Quang gets attack speed while he's has his stacks, while he has passive stacks. Again, this change went through last patch. This is nothing. His Q goes farther. The tether distance is increased pretty drastically. Which again, like damage changes to this like doesn't really matter. Now affects targets as the sword falls. So similar to Gideon Rock, this will hit targets in the air, which is really nice. His E, you can blink while you're in it. Knockup radius is increased. Stuff like that, right? Like buffs to Quang all around. His right click, again, you can blink while you're doing it. If you have your sword on the ground, it's farther, the radius is bigger, right? And then his ultimate, you can now blink while charging your ultimate, which this is very similar to Aurora ultimate, where this is a really good change. It's like a 65% slow. So if you just start ult and then blink somebody, they don't get to move. Pretty good ability. Belica, another character that we saw the changes for on the dev stream. Her auto attacks are different now. So she now has a burst fire. It's three autos now. She has 3 autos per auto. Each bullet applies on hits at 140% effectiveness. So if you are building auto attack Belica and you're hitting all of your shots, technically slightly better now. Technically slightly better. Can you explain why the change to her autos is so good? This on Belica, I just think it feels really nice. I just think it feels good. That's my opinion. I think it feels good. Again, if you're going on hit Belica, whatever. Her passive now no longer grants mana. This is also just, by the way, not the correct number. You are not currently gaining 10% mana. It is 5% at the moment. They should let me write patch notes. But you gain 10 ability haste whenever you max an ability, which is actually probably better, generally speaking. Her Q now is, instead of instantly going, it's you Q the ground, and then after half a second, the whole thing goes off. So it has a delay to it, a little bit harder to hit. Still a really good ability. Still goes through walls, right? It's still a really good ability. Void Drone. So, again, there's a lot of fucking numbers here, bro. Basically, what Void Drone does is when you toss it down, it still shoots people if they use abilities, but if you hit them, if you hit an enemy with an ability while they're inside your Void Drone AoE, your Void Drone will shoot them. So this has a way to have reliable damage on it, which is really good. I like this change to Void Drone a lot. I think it just makes the ability feel useful in a team fight, even if people aren't clicking buttons. And yeah, and then it takes a little bit. The HP on this thing, I don't really know. Like it's really wacky, but it's like generally speaking easier to kill because like you can hit it with abilities and stuff like that. So yeah. Void Bomb. This ability got changed. So when you hit level 9, which is when you can max your Void Bomb, when you get 5 points in your Void Bomb, it now no longer just increases the scaling. Now there's a second hit of Void Bomb. So when you throw your bomb after you have it maxed, it'll explode normally and do its damage. And then after another 0.8 seconds, it will explode again and do more damage, which is pretty good. This is like, if you hit someone with both ticks of this, it's more damage than it is currently. If you hit someone with just the first tick, it's a decent amount less than it is currently. So if you can hit someone with both, it's a really big buff. Got nerfed early game, which is a really good change. Again, Belica level 1 with a 5-second cooldown is really broken right now. See me playing PPL to understand how broken Belica is. And then her ultimate, again, if you get stunned out of this, it goes on cooldown. It's a piercing skill shot. It silences people when you hit them. And then at level 16, when you get your ultimate maxed out, it refunds the cooldown if you kill someone with it. Really good. And then the damage is pretty similar to what it is right now. It's pretty much the same as it is right now. It just is a skill shot, which is a really good change. This is a huge change. This is a really good change to Belle. This character specifically will be significantly worse next patch. This ability specifically will be worse, but I think if you are very good at her, she'll be very similar to doing what she does right now. Silence is huge. It is, Bri. Yes, the silence is really nice. It lets you stun aggressively, and you still have you still have a way to stop people. Still gonna slam PPL with her. I think things will be more broken than Bellica Defuzz. Again, I love this champ, right? Like, again, if you guys have been watching PPL at all, this champ is giga broken, right? But she will be significantly worse next patch, in my opinion. Morigesh. So her passive now stacks 3 times. It's no longer cleansable. It does less damage. But her autos, her autos are still 1300, so she has shorter ranged autos than other people. But whenever you auto somebody, it refreshes your passive. Ha 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 ha. Good one. Good one. Funny. And then her hive, it's a little slower, but you can throw it farther. It always has the slow. It's not just on the marked target. Does a little less damage. This ability gets a nerf, but you'll see why. Her E is now more move speed initially. It decays. It refreshes duration if you hit an enemy hero. That's really fucking good. Now gains 20% damage. That's really fucking good. Bonus healing on marked targets is removed, but the healing is changed. So instead of base heal, it is 40% of pre-mitigated damage, which is a buff. This is a buff. The base damage on this ability increased. Scaling increased 70% scaling. Ha 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 ha. 70%. Ha ha ha. Good one. Cooldown goes up really a lot early game, but you're just gonna max this ability second. I'm very confident, so you won't care too much. And then her right click gets a change, so you can now mark minions, monsters, deployables, etc. The actual mark, your ultimate mark, will only work on heroes. This just does damage to other things. So this now heals you for 60% of your magical power whenever you hit someone with it. Very funny. Funny game. Funny change. But it does a lot less damage as far as base damage is concerned. Lower cooldown or longer cooldown early game. Less of a bully champ, like a battle mage. I think she'll be really good. But I will have to figure out what to build on her. I don't know what you build on her. Let's see. Ornn, base stat changes. Who cares? So Murdoch passive gets changed. So instead of being on a cooldown, it's now every 6th auto. It no longer has pen. It's still extra range. It just does bonus damage. Overall, I would call this a buff to Doc, generally speaking. Late game, it's a nerf. Or the first 20 minutes of the game, this is a buff. His Q, his traps, a little bit faster. Do a little less damage. But the root duration increased a little bit. This is just kind of a linear change to this character. His E, this is the big change for him. Duration increased to 5 seconds. Its decaying move speed now grants attack speed. Stacking up to 5 times. Why would this ability on a 12-second cooldown have to be able to stack 5 times? Resets on takedown. Funny. 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 Doc gets his E back, and it gives attacks. He has a stim, and it gives it back on takedown. Very funny. His right click now shreds armor when you hit somebody with it. This is a really buff to this champ. Cooldown early game goes up though, which is kind of annoying. Wind up laser radius increased by 6 times, so you can see the wind up a little bit more. And then time to fire increased. This isn't a very long time to fire increase, but it makes the ability feel a lot better to play against. Damage increased. Very cool. One sec. I'm gonna go turn off my heat, guys. My room's getting really toasty. I'm gonna be right back. We're in the middle of it. It's been an hour. I'll be right back. Who are we on? We're on Muriel. Muriel passive gets a little bit of a nerf. Her Q, scaling decreased, slow duration increased is really all that matters. You don't really, like, the damage on this early is annoying, but whatever. Her E, so most of Muriel's shields, keep in mind that Muriel's shields in general, are now affected by armor. So they take less damage. All of her shields are going to be going down, but again, with the armor change, these are pretty much going to be the same as they are now, maybe even better. Alacrity, again, same thing. Shield scaling decreased, but more movement speed, very cool. Her ultimate, a lot less shield. Shield scaling increased, this is kind of big. Maybe mid lane Muriel's OP now, who knows? Narbash gets a lot of changes here. Basically, TLDR on Narbash, he has physical power scaling now on basically everything. Gains increased power when he has his passive stacked. His Q, his move speed, he gains more move speed based on his magic power scaling. So you can, if you're playing him support with magic power, get better there. His E ticks faster with ability haste. Healing is doubled for allies, but is basically cut in half for Narbash. So he heals himself less, but he heals allies for about the same. And then rhythm HP per second buffed a little bit. Very cool. And then Thunk, his passive no longer reduces the cooldown on his Thunk. Instead, it increases the damage. And this has 90% physical power scaling on it. The cooldown itself does go down. I don't know why you're building physical power Narbash. Like, they didn't add phys power scaling to his ultimate, which is why you would ever consider playing it. You have a single ability that scales off of this. Like, maybe you're playing auto attack Narbash, but I just kind of think you're an idiot if you're doing that. It's something I'll definitely play, you know what I mean? Like, I'll definitely try it, but I just don't know. Like, these changes to Narbash are basically, I don't know. They very much don't change a whole lot. This change to his ult is really good, though. 50% damage mit while he's ulting. Good. Phase. Again, TLDR on Phase changes. She has a new passive that makes her blink. Phase's blink is a 1 minute cooldown, right? Yeah, it's a 1 minute cooldown, and it costs 50 mana. It gives increased damage when you blink. And then whenever you hit your Q, your Psychic Flare, your blind, it reduces the cooldown of your blink to 1 second. Which is really good. So you can blink all over the place. Her passive got a little bit of a nerf. Most of her damage went down a little bit. I want to say you could play this champ full damage, like in the mid lane. Realistically, probably not. But I do think it'd be fun. Something I'll definitely do. Don't think it's going to be any good, but I will try it. And then the rest of her kit's basically the same. Her pull, you cannot pull targets when they are affected by CC. So if your linked target gets stunned, you cannot pull them while they are stunned, which is really good. A very good change. Rampage got fucking broken, man. They looked at Rampage and they said, yeah, fuck Rampage. And then they looked at this patch and they were like, nah, buff Rampage. So you get more regen now based on your level. Regen doubled in the jungle. Out of combat, healing modifiers removed. So this also is like 4x on current patch. Out of combat doesn't have that anymore. But upon being immobilized, gain 40% tenacity and restore 5% of your maximum health over the duration. He just has Unbroken Will. He has old OP broken Unbroken Will. Isn't that awesome, guys? Isn't that awesome? He gets free tenacity, and he heals for his max HP whenever you CC him. I don't know what they were thinking. Unbroken Will got this passive removed for a reason, guys. This seems nuts. As far as everything else go, his boulder throw is drastically faster. You can pick up your boulder and throw it significantly faster. It does take mana when you pick up the rock. Right now it doesn't, which is really goofy. Takes mana when you pick up the rock. You get half back if you cancel it. You can now jump while you're holding the boulder, and the boulder will stun everyone in your jump AoE, which is a really cool change. It's over Prime Rampage, which is really good. And then here's the other broken part. Rampage E now passively grants Rampage up to 2.5% of his max HP as physical power. Huh? What? Hello? Why are we giving Rampage 2.5% of his max HP as physical power on top of restoring 5% of his max HP? Is there a reason for this? I don't fucking know. You don't fucking know. And then his ultimate, the duration is increased at all ranks. He gets more HP. Regen from his passive is increased with the hero, with the ability level. So it's a buff to his ultimate. This champ is going to be broken. Right? Like, I know, like, these changes don't, like, this passive, like, this change to his passive seems, like, this just looks broken. Like, you can just read this and be like, what the fuck? Right? This change is what's really going to be broken. Because if you go Overlord and Aegis of Agawar, dude, Flick played a game of Rampage where he was full tank. He had like 500 physical power. Right. Funny game. Funny. Very funny. Rev. Dude, I don't even want to read these Rev changes. They took one look at Rev and they said, think of the rabbits, Revenant. Think of the rabbits. And then they fucking executed him with his own pistol. It is crazy. Basically, so his passive got buffed. He gets more power from his passive. Like, he gets power from attack speed now, stuff like that, right? His Q got... I think this is mostly a nerf to his Q. The bonus missile damage going down is crazy. The physical power scaling going up is really nice, but the bonus physical damage, the bonus, like, hits going down matters a lot. It makes this ability do, like, a significant amount less damage. You also, by the way, Magic Power Revenant is unplayable now. They destroyed his Q. You cannot play AP Rev. It is so sad. It is terrible. It is so sad. I don't know why they changed it. That was the most fun character in the game, and they changed it. His Scar, his E, it's now a skill shot. You have to aim this ability now. If you hit someone with it, the next 4 times that you hit them will do bonus damage. It's not bonus damage based on the damage done. It's its own bonus damage. But if you hit them 4 times, consuming all stacks now roots the target. They get rooted, which is pretty good. But I don't think it's enough to actually like save this champ. Like, this ability in particular, his Scar, is significantly better now than it was before, because this also it prioritizes marked targets, his Q. So if you mark somebody and then they walk into a minion wave, your Q will hit the person with your E on it for the entire of it. It won't hit the minions. So this is a huge buff to his E. I just don't think it saves the hero. Like, his auto attacks are fucking atrocious, bro. They are so slow. Which is, I don't know. I think he feels really bad to play. Unless they buffed him. Maybe they buffed him from when I played him. I don't know. And then his right click, it's basically the only thing that matters really is that 4th shot now grants move speed when you hit somebody. If you 4th shot a minion or a hero, you gain a fuck ton of move speed. This seems broken. However, keep in mind that when you auto, until your auto attack timer is up, which on Revenant is about 1 second, you are slowed by autoing. So realistically, this is only 40% move speed for 1 second, because the first 1 second of this 2 seconds, you are still auto attack penaltied. For the second 1 second of this 2 seconds, you get the full move speed. So it's not as insane as it sounds. It's still pretty good, but it's not as insane as it sounds. Missing health damage goes up as you level the ability. Crit damage, his crit mod goes up because the base crit mod went up. Wait, what? They nerfed his crit mod drastically. Base crit mod is 165. Okay, they nerfed his crits. He does gain a fuck ton of power from his passive now, but they nerfed his crits. He actually is. There's no way this is the correct number. His base crit mod in the game is 165 now. Right? So, like, this is terrible.
So much
I don't know. You can no longer shoot through towers while you're ulting. You can't shoot through enemy towers, which is a big nerf. His ult also no longer roots, but it slows the target by a lot. Overall, again, I think Rev will be the worst character in the patch, personally. Yo, Azades, thank you for the 2-monther, man. Welcome back to the pin zone. I appreciate it. 10% missing health damage is nuts, though. I mean, it is. But you have to keep in mind, right now, this is 5%, and it's critting way harder. Because this is 5%, and it's critting at 170 instead of 10% critting at 160. It's, I don't know. This is probably, like, this is a buff, but again, I think the rest of this character's kit feels so terrible that I feel like he's probably not that good. It's 155 to 166 crit mod. Okay. Okay, Ray. Thank you. I was going to say, there's no way that they are actually giving Revenant a worse crit mod late game than the base crit mod. That just seemed incorrect to me. So late game, he has essentially, so Ray said that, if you guys are watching on YouTube, Ray is, I believe Ray does most of the balancing in the game. So he's the one that would know, right? He says this goes to 166. And the base crit mod in the game is 165. So late game, he basically has the same crit mod. This being 166, like 6% doesn't sound like a lot. It is. That alone will make this feel better. Yo, Chungus with the 6-monther. I appreciate it, Chungus. Welcome back to the pin zone, dude. Richter got a passive change. So Richter basically has steal passive now. Whenever you hit someone with your hook or your ultimate, you gain a shield. It's kind of like his same current passive, except you don't get it just all the time. His Q, this is a pretty big change to his Q. Keep in mind that shields got buffed, right? Shields now benefit from protections. So removing shields before doing damage is pretty big. Like, this is a really nice change. It'll make Richter, like, really good against steel. Like, we'll see steel changes in a sec. The base damage goes down, but the cooldown now scales down, which this is a really good change. Like, the cooldown scaling down, you don't care about the base damage anymore. The cooldown scaling down is really good. Yo, Debu, thank you for the 16-monther, man. Welcome back to the pin zone. Appreciate it. His E gets a huge range increase. The damage goes down. Movement speed goes way up. Range increase goes way up. Overall, this will make him better at moving around. Just having that much extra move speed is really good. Riplash, his hook now can be cast in the air. You can jump hook people now. It's really, that's awesome. Base damage goes up. Who cares? Ultimate also can now be cast in the air. This is really good because a lot of the time, if you flash Rifties, you'll be off the ground and you can't ult right away, and it feels really bad. So the fact that you can now ult even if you're in the air a tiny bit, really good. It can now be canceled. So if you CC Richter, it will now cancel his ult rather than still having the second hit go off, which is really goofy. Sereth. Sereth changes aren't huge. So Sereth Q got a buff here. So she's fully damage immune during her cast. She cannot be hit. She cannot be CC'd, blah, blah, blah. It does bonus damage to monsters. Makes her jungle clear significantly better. The scaling is increased. The on-hit modifier is increased. This is really like this on-hit modifier plus this is really good. It's really, really good. On top of that, so she got a bunch of damage buffs. Her E does a lot more damage now. Like, this scaling change is huge. Her right click does a fuck ton more damage now. So it lost 70 base damage, but it gained 20% scaling, and the slow is 2 seconds long. Like, yeah, it's on a longer cooldown, but even just in the offlane, like, trading with this extra slow is going to be crazy. Like, late game, this character will be a menace. They increased all of her scaling. She's going to be crazy late game. And then her ultimate got a nerf. Who cares? Where did I just go? Sevarog's bigger. Passive, again, we saw these changes on the dev stream. If you guys watched the dev stream, Sevarog's passive's now different. It stacks infinitely. He gains less bonus HP when he gets shoulders, but he gets a bunch of upgrades. So 40 stacks, T1 shoulders is 40 stacks. He gains 15% Omnivamp. Really good for lane sustain. Really good, because he doesn't heal on his Q anymore. So 15% Omnivamp, really good for lane sustain. T2, 80 stacks. 20% Magic Armor Shred. I don't fucking know why. Like, this is the most broken thing on here, by the way. 20% Magic Armor Shred at 80 stacks. That's fucking OP. That is OP as shit. And then T3, 120. He gets, his ult is half, it's half cooldown and executes minions. Very cool. He can clear prime waves. Nobody cares. And then T4, this is worded really weird. It's 1% of the target's maximum HP. It is not 1% of Sev's max HP. It's not fire. It's not Fire Blossom. It's really a worse version of Fire Blossom. But the range on this is giant, and it's bonus damage. It's not like you had to do something. It's not like you bought an item that's bad. It's just bonus damage. So, Sev will definitely be better. Like, this is a huge... These are huge buffs to Sevarog. I believe they also... I don't think it says it in here. Maybe it says it on Cat Drive. I believe Cat Drive gives you Sev stacks now. Don't know if that's 100% true. I'm pretty sure on test server, Catalytic Drive, when you autoed minions, was giving you Sev stacks. It does? Okay, thank you, Ray. I was going to say, I don't know if that was bugged or something, but it was giving you Sev stacks. So, Cat Drive, now really good on this champ. Extra good. Was already really good. Extra good. So, Soul Siphon, it added 3% bonus health scaling. That's a huge buff. Magic scaling goes down. No one cares. Subjugate, his E, his root. Radius increased. It does not slow anymore. It's just the root. It has no slow afterwards. But his dash now does damage, and it has max HP scaling on it, which is really fucking good. And this is his dash slows. So his root no longer slows. His dash now slows. This is a big slow for very short duration. Ult gets nerfed like a decent amount, but keep in mind, you hit 120 stacks, and this is half cooldown, and it executes minions, so you don't really care that it's nerfed. This is a 30-second cooldown. That's really good. Shinbi. Got some huge changes. Huge changes. Her passive got a little bit of a nerf, but I don't think this matters. The wolf hitbox was increased like drastically. It should hit like it should hit when it hits now, right? Instead of just not hitting people. The damage on this goes up late game. It's really bad level 1, by the way. But like level 3, like or rank 3, it starts to get good again. Scaling increased cooldown. Dude, 2.5 second cooldown. Hello? 2.5 seconds? On God, that's crazy. Her E now decreases its cooldown by up to 40% when you hit people with it. That's fucking crazy. The damage on this goes up. The scaling goes up. The base damage goes down. I don't think this matters a whole lot. And then the shield gets nerfed. So Shinbi will do more damage, but she has a lot less shields. So no one really... Like, it makes her a little more killable, but overall, this is a buff to Shinbi. Her right click is no longer 2 dashes chained together. It is 2 charges of her dash. With individual cooldowns, right? It's the way that a charge ability works. The scaling's decreased. To get the same amount of damage as her old 2 dashes, you now have to hit someone 4 times. 3 times is almost the same, but 4 gives you more damage. Cooldown goes down. This will make her more mobile. It'll make her a lot harder to catch. She's going to be really annoying. And then this is the big change, is that her ultimate now affects all target with stacks, not just the highest stack target. The damage obviously goes down, but... the fact that you can hit everyone with this actually makes Shinbi a good team fight character. This makes her good in team fights. I think Shinbi mid will probably be pretty good because of the change to her dash. I think Shinbi in the mid lane will probably be pretty good because you can dash 3 times to catch up to people. You always have dashes to get away. And then her ultimate is really good in team fights. So it's good to be like in a fight. Skylar didn't really get changes here. The slow on her nade is a lot stronger. Her flight lasts longer. She gets less downward velocity, but keep in mind that all downward velocity in the game got increased, so it is what it is. Her beam gets a little extra damage. Her ultimate lets her hover and does a little more damage. These changes, these don't really... this is just like a couple of small buffs to Skylar to let her keep up with the crazy buffs everyone else is getting. Arrow. Dude, I need to go grab some more water. I'll be right back. Sparrow. So Sparrow changes are pretty linear. Her passive, a little bit, I mean, it applies to monsters, but it's a really low amount, so kind of who cares. Her Q, basically the same. The slow is increased drastically level 1, so you don't max this ability anymore. Her E gets a little bit of a change. It's like a rework base, so you gain your attack speed, but every second auto attack, so every other auto, does bonus damage. It does it. So if you hit someone a lot, it's a little better. Very cool. Her right click basically is the same as it was before. It does a little bit more damage if you are stacking people with it. Then her ultimate, man, I think her ultimate feels terrible. I'm gonna be honest. I did not think this ability felt good. Essentially, you click your R button and it auto fires X number of shots based on the rank of the ability. It's 11, 13, 15. Fires X number of shots. They pierce everybody. They do damage, but there's no base damage on the ability, and it's not autos. They do apply on hits, but it's 25% effective. They can critically strike, but it's only 50% effective. Like, you're going to play Sparrow now, but you're going to play her. It's going to be Malady Infernum. She's going to be like... She's going to... I think you just build Pen. I think you just build Pen. I don't know. I think her ultimate's really goofy. Who's the worst ADC next patch? Revenant. Easy. Dude, I'm out of breath. Passive. This is Steel. Steel got changed. Passive's OP. So he has Richter passive, where he gets a shield, and it like if he's out of combat, it refreshes the shield. But he also converts armor to magic armor and physical armor to magic armor. Wait, it converts 20% of his physical armor into magic armor and 20% of his magic armor to physical armor. Really good passive, gives him a lot of fucking armor. GG. Steel Q gets nerfed, less damage, less scaling. His shield now hits many people, and it hits monsters, so you can shield the wave and do damage to it. Everyone who walks through it gets slowed and takes damage. His right click got a giant fucking buff. I don't know why, but they buffed the fuck out of this. Look at this base damage. Gained 150 base damage. And the max health scaling goes down. You're just gonna max this ability first because they also reduced the cooldown on it. So you're just gonna max right click. You're never maxing dash anymore. Really good ability. And then his ultimate also gets a buff. Terra got some changes. It'll make her better in the offlane. Terra mid's gonna be pretty much unplayable now. Terra mid currently on current patch, Terra mid's really fucking good, by the way. Next patch, unplayable. Her Q gets buffed. It'll be better against tanks. Her E gets a nerf here. Basically, it does a little more damage, but it's slower. It's significantly slower. It's a little skinnier, a little harder to hit. The cooldown, also giant, by the way. Why is this 16 seconds rank 1? I don't fucking know. You don't fucking know. Slow, decreased late game. Duration of root and slow, both. Wait! Bug fix! Now considered an AoE ability. Hold up. They listened. That's crazy. Yo, what up, Ace? How's it going, big dog? Her right click, her dash, this damage change is pretty much the same. If you're building like 2 damage items, this will basically be the same as what it is right now. Now considered an AoE ability. She doesn't get full lifesteal off the fucking wave anymore. Very cool. Her ultimate duration drastically increased. No longer doubles your passive armor when you ult, though. So keep that in mind. Armor reduced a little bit as well. So less tanky, but does a lot, like, much more threatening. Not good in the mid lane, unfortunately, but... Dude, I know. Ace, dude, the patch notes are so fucking long, man. Holy shit. Faye's Q, basically, it is like an actual, like, line ability. It takes a little bit to go out. It gives her moves. It gives Faye and allies move speed when they're on the little Q thing. It's much wider now. And then enemies are still slowed on it. It still does damage. Her E, basically the same as it was before. Little shorter range. Casts a little bit faster. Mana refund reduced. Stuff like that. Little worse level 1. Her right click goes off faster. Same amount of damage. Her ultimate gets a change. You can throw it farther, but the radius is smaller. So it's harder to hit 5-man ults, but you can throw it a little further away. Realistically, I would say this is like... it's a nerf because of this. Time to pull is 0.9 seconds now, so you can actually kind of walk out of this. But realistically, like, the fact that the damage goes up and the range goes up, like, this is probably pretty linear. You just use it a little differently. Twin Blast got some changes. None of these really matter outside of the change to his ultimate. So his ultimate, it's slower, harder to hit, but it can now critically strike, which is really fucking good. It casts over a longer duration. You can get more bullets based on your attack speed. The rest of these changes don't really matter. Wraith, dude, they keep, like, changing Wraith. I don't fucking know what all these numbers mean, man. Basically, his snipe goes far as fuck. Or this is his Q. His snipe also got a huge range increase. His Q goes farther. It does less damage, but your ultimate marks people. That's really the TLDR on Wraith. Like, your mark itself, it does less damage. Your snipe does a little bit less damage. It goes way farther. But your ultimate now marks them, and it teleports them faster. And it rewinds them further, and the cast range is increased to make up for auto attack range, right? Overall, like, probably a buff to Wraith. I just don't know what they're trying to do to this champ, man. Like, I don't know what they have to do to Wraith to make him actually good. Like, overall, probably a buff. About the super jump, yeah, he does get one super jump when he goes invis. He does get a super jump when he goes invis, which is kind of neat. It's very goofy. I watched a Wraith do it. It was goofy. I was like, what the hell? Yin, again, small changes to help her keep up. Her lash kick, her Q no longer roots. Her right click now pushes people away from you. Good spacing tool. And then her ultimate, a little less slow. Xeris, again, got a bunch of numbers changed. TLDR, his Q does a lot more base damage. It stuns a little bit longer. It goes off a little faster. You always get the damage reduction. His dash, more move speed, less duration. It'll make him a little bit easier to catch, but it's a shorter cooldown. So if you're maxing the ability, he'll still be annoying. His right click now is a much shorter range, which like this matters a lot in the off lane. In the jungle, this doesn't matter, but in the off lane, like this as a spacing tool is really fucking good. The damage goes up on this, the cooldown goes down, and then his ultimate, the size of his ult is increased, which generally speaking is a buff. And then the height is decreased, so you can actually jump out of this on a lot of champs now. Like Decker, right, can probably get out of this. Like Howie could already get out of it. Skylar can get out of it. Stuff like that. Like people who have vertical mobility can get out of this more reliably. There were some times where, based on the terrain, you couldn't get out of it because it was really awkward. But now you'll always be able to if you can get out. Zinx. The only change to Zinx that matters is her E is now a projectile. It's a lobbed ability. So you can toss this. It's much slower, but you can toss this hella far. This shit goes crazy far. This is like Iggy Molly when Iggy came out. And then her ultimate, yeah, her ult gives more move speed. Like this is really the only change that matters to this champ. Oh my god, dude, we just got to items. Oh my god. Holy shit. Okay, so wards got a bigger radius. Crest changes, less move speed on Leaf Song. Silentium, again, just to keep up with auto range, got a buff. Sanctification, base shield goes down. Soul Bearer, move speed goes down. Cooldown increase. You'll see a lot of these on like Mage Crests, right? Time Flex Man gets the same change. Tempest, a little bit less damage, a little more healing. Very cool. This is so much, dude. I'm out of breath. The Nex got a pretty big nerf here. This is a pretty big nerf to Nex. Ortis also got a nerf. Less move speed, less power on resets. Liberator, base shield decreased. Now it states that it has a base shield. Very cool. Scaling decreased. So you get less of a shield on Liberator. It'll mostly be for the cleanse. Pacifier now has it states that it has base damage on it. Very cool. Icecorn Talons it gets a nerf. Very cool. This shit's been OP since day one. Here we are. Potions get a change. Basically, potions don't scale per level. They scale at certain levels, so they scale with your ultimate essentially, which is cool. They're a little bit better level 1, little bit worse like level 5, right before you get the thingy. Before you get the increase to the potions. Tonics got buffed as well, so all tonics are 500 gold now. They giga buffed Intellect Tonic. It's cheaper and it gives more power, which is crazy to me. Stamina Tonic's also really fucking good. You get it's not 300, it's 12% max HP, which is a buff if you're a tank. It's a nerf if you're squishy. 20 haste, fucking crazy. This is a wild change to this thing. Like, dude, I might just buy this on squishy characters. I don't fucking care. What's 12% of 2K? It's an extra, like, 250. Like, that's not bad. I'll take that. Strength Tonic, again, cost decreased. Feather gets a change. Like, you get additional gold on siege minions, but whatever, it's pretty linear. There's a lot of item changes in here. We're not going to go over every single one because most of them don't matter. Anti-heal got buffed. All the T2 anti-heals are 35%. All the T3 anti-heals are 45%. So anti-heal better now. What else in here matters? I don't care about T2s. Move from carry to fighter category. Very cool. Dust Devil. Less move speed. Lightning Hawk, less slow. This is really fucking good. This item is broken. Quiver gets 5% more lifesteal. That's a lot. That is a lot. Level 11 tonic meta. True. Tell I'm burnt. Dude, I'm tired. I've been staring at patch notes for 2 hours. Oh my god. This is going to be the longest YouTube video I've ever uploaded, by the way. Holy shit. Again, a lot of these changes kind of don't matter. Like, Sky Splitter gets a buff. Stormbreaker gets a change. It's no longer, like, a stacking item. It's just kind of what Stormbreaker was originally. Terminus, more lifesteal, but it doesn't have the lifesteal based on missing HP anymore. Yeah, they nerfed Envy. It no longer is like an actual crit. It's like a baby crit. Very cool. Dude, they dumpstered assassin items. I don't know why. They said, fuck assassins. Well, let's giga buff the assassin, then nerf all their items. Like, Malady gets a pretty big nerf here. Mind Razors gets a change. So Mind Razor no longer cleaves on abilities. Mind Razor cleaves on only autos now. But it gives you power based on your max mana. Which is cool and all, I guess. I think this is mostly a nerf. It also lost 10 power, right? So this is mostly a nerf to Mind Razor. Again, I don't know why they dumpstered all the assassin items, but they hate the assassin items. Unlucky. Omen gets a nerf, gets a damage nerf, right? Trident, I don't know why Trident is 50%. I don't understand at all why Trident's 50%, but it is. Pen goes down, bonus damage goes down. Berserker's Axe gets a buff. The movement speed's decreased. The base damage on the proc is increased. And the proc damage is now based on physical power, which is really good. It's 45% on Trident. Okay. I was going to say, because I'm pretty sure this was 50% on test as well. Or at least it showed 50%. So, if it's 45, that makes more sense. Berserker's Axe, again, this scaling off physical power is generally a buff to bruisers now. Which is nice. That's a very good change. Citadel, more power. Legacy, more armor. Overlord is now a stacking item, so it has more power, less HP. But every time you kill a unit, every time you kill a minion or a jungle unit or what have you, you gain 1 permanent HP. And this is infinitely stacking. So at 150 stacks, you do gain the 200 bonus HP. So at 150 stacks, this is 350 plus 275. So what is that? 575, 625 at 150 stacks, but it continues stacking after that. You still get one health per stack. Rapture gets a bit of a change here, so it gets more healing and more HP, but it loses the ability haste, which is like kind of a nerf. Generally speaking, I would call this a nerf. Like, it does a little more damage, but not having haste makes this item like really tough to buy. Like, Overlord into Rapture is really tough because you're going 2 non-haste items. Which is a little bit awkward. Salvation, less shield, but you get it later, which is this is actually better. Getting this later is better because it doesn't activate at the same time that like Legacy activates. You kind of want that shield after you get your Legacy. So that's kind of better. Tainted Blade nerf, very cool. Caustica, nerf. Entropy, nerf. Noxia, buff. Again, like, this is a really good item. Soulbinder. Dude, this is fucking huge. Soulbinder change is ginormous. So, Arcane Salvo, which is the passive of Soulbinder, will always deal bonus damage if you're hitting someone outside of 1450 units, right? Which is just below auto range now. It always does bonus damage. The bonus damage is decreased. It's 5% as true damage. Keep in mind, it's true damage. But it still has the perma-stacking power whenever you hit somebody for every 10 seconds. But it always does, essentially, if you're playing like Gadget or Howitzer, this is essentially a 5% damage buff, a perma. 5% of your damage, you gain 5% damage as true damage, is essentially what this reads, if you're playing a ranged mage, which is crazy. Tainted Scepter, nerf, good. Dude, this is such a good change to make Tainted Scepter not just the most OP item in the game. Wraith Leggings move speed nerf, very cool. Galaxy Greaves move speed nerf, very cool. Martial, increased range because auto attack range increased. Tainted Charm, again, same thing. Auto attack range increased, so a lot of the aura items get range increases. True Silver, nerf, very cool. Vanguardian, again, same thing, range increase. Quantum Core has been renamed to Warp Stream, interesting. Teleblink not damaged within 3 seconds instead of out of combat. That's a very good change. This is what I told them to do when they added the item to the game, by the way. I said 6 seconds is way too fucking long. Why is it an out of combat timer and not 3 seconds? A 3-second out of combat blink. This is really good now on specific, like mostly on supports. You're not really building this on people who want to do damage because the item, obviously the base stats aren't very good. But on characters like Aurora, Steel, Richter, this is a really good item now. Crystalline Cuirass gets a change. You get a little more armor, get a little more HP, but you don't get the regen anymore. Frost Guard, a bit of a shift, just even out the protections. A lot of these items are just like gaining a little bit of HP, right? And stuff like that. Crit strike reduction reduced, or like you get more reduction to crit strikes from Warden's Faith. Really good item now. Was already a pretty good item, not really good. Bug fixes, I'm not reading these. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm not reading those. Very cool. Patch over. Oh my god. I need a nap. I need a nap. Oh, why did it take me 2 hours to read patch notes, guys? It took me 2 hours to read them. If you guys have questions, leave them in the comment section down below. I'll try and get to them. Speed run it now. Done. Watch that in 0.25. Yeah, if you guys have questions, let me know. Other than that, I'm not going back over any of that. Sorry. Now do it backwards. How about you fuck yourself, fun? God, dude, I am tired. W or L patch? W patch. I mean, the patch is very good. Again, obviously I played it already, right? You guys have seen me play it. Patch is very good. Reading patch notes for 2 hours was less good. Just arrived. Can you start again? Yeah, let me just go over them one more time.